What's up, everybody? Surprised that I got another movie review in for the weekend. Brian with another dinner and a show movie review on the road, and I did have dinner because I went to the Movie Tavern. Not a sponsor at all, but hey, you know, they have a good theater. I like them a lot. So yeah, I really wanted to watch Tyler Perry's Acrimony because I heard it's like one of those so bad it's good movies, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I really wanted to see it. But no, that show was sold out, and I'm like, ah man, I did not know that. So, well, that's just me. I'll probably go watch it another time and then give you guys another review. But for now, you guys have a movie, a faith-based movie, another one. This is my third one this year that I've seen. I'll probably try and watch Paul now that I've watched it, you know, watched that one. This one is God's Not Dead, A Light in the Darkness, or as the movie title says, God's Not Dead 3. Because, hey, I'm just looking at, hey, there's something else being constructed over here. Wow. Alright. Yeah, God's Not Dead 3, because that's what we all were wanting, right? Hey, another faith-based film to make, I can only imagine, obsolete again. I don't know. Oh, guys, if you know anything about me, you know that I can't stand the God's Not Dead movies. I give them mediocre, or I give them terrible reviews, for one, because it's just a bunch of hate-mongering, the first two, and it's just really dumb. I don't like it. I've never liked the movies. They're horribly written. They make everybody just look bad. You know, I'm just gonna go find a place to park, because you know what? It's kind of funny. I think I'm getting lost. Or maybe not, I'm not sure. Well, I'm heading on the interstate. This will be interesting. Anyway, I don't like the God's Not Dead movies, never have. But I do have a lot of connection to it because I was an extra in God's Not Dead 2, and I actually auditioned for a part in God's Not Dead 3, and I got a callback. Didn't make the cut, but I, you know, got it. Or so I actually got a call. So I thought that was pretty cool. But besides the point, didn't get it. So yeah, I knew that they were making this movie. But yeah, didn't know a whole lot, or didn't know what they were gonna do. So yeah, this is what happens when you're trying to drive and do a review at the same time. So I'm just gonna park over at the church and be safe. There you go. At a church. How appropriate, because God's Not Dead 3, starring David A.R. White and a bunch of other people. He has a church called Hadley, and it's over at a college campus, and the college wants him to remove it. And a kid named I think it's Richard. He is getting, he accidentally, like, pretty much burns the whole church down, and Jude, my favorite character, or the most enjoyable character in the God's Not Dead trilogy, can't believe we can say that now, he dies from it, and they result, and David, Pastor, or Reverend Dave, played by David A.R. White, gets his brother Pierce. He's a lawyer, and I forget his credit name, but he goes in and he helps his brother try and win the case. But then over time, the movie questions whether it's worth it, whether this fight is worth it, and so that's when he has to pause and just see if he is actually being a light in the darkness. So, yeah, so what did I think of this movie? Well, surprisingly, like, half of me wants to be, like, entertained by how bad it is and how they, you know, paint atheists as being just completely evil and completely over the top maniacal and how they want to get rid of Christians. Because that's what made God's Not Dead 2 really enjoyable for me, just how, like, downright evil they made him, or they made, like, the ACLU attorney. Oh my gosh, he was so funny. But no, they didn't. They actually, I think everyone was pretty much was, you know, kind of all mellow, all not a whole lot of, like, craziness. I mean, hey, they made Pastor Dave, or Reverend Dave, look bad at one point. So he attacks a student, you know, for, you know, or yeah, he attacks a student. I'm not gonna say for what, you know, if in case you watch it, but yeah, he does like push a student down on the ground. You know, that's assault. So yeah, that happens. Both sides, I think, get an even stroke of what's bad and what's good. And I think Pierce is probably one of the best examples. See, in the second movie, the lawyer for Meg, I think, for the teacher. For the teacher in the second one, the lawyer there, he's not a Christian, but I mean, he might as well have, because he pretty much acted like it. I mean, and he was a likable character. He was a likable character. But here they have Pierce, and Pierce is someone who left his faith because he felt hated, like he didn't belong, and that his family rejected him because he was asking too many questions about his faith, and he didn't feel welcomed, and he felt like he should be ashamed for asking these questions, and so he left. And the kid that threw the brick at the church window, reason he threw it, I mean, he was dealing with a lot of issues leading up to that, but his background is that his mom was rejected by the church for leaving her husband, who was beating her, saying that she would be an adulteress if she divorced. And they humiliated her. I mean, these things happen. The church in America does that. I mean, not all of them. Probably very few, hopefully. Hopefully very few. But, I mean, that stuff happens. You know, people have these stories, and it's really sad that the church acts that way. I mean, if you've known me, if you've known me and Tanner on the show, I mean, we're Christians. We grew up in church. I can't, you know, speak for Tanner, but for me, you know, I take my relationship with God very seriously. I try to live like Jesus every day. So seeing a lot of stories, you know, that go around about people that claim to be Christians, you know, doing terrible things, I mean, that happens. So when I watch the God's Not Dead movies, while I do get a kick out of it, because they're so bad, it's just really just false. It's a false narrative of how the atheists are like demonized, and how the Christians are like these perfect, nice people, because not all of them are. Not everyone that claims, you know, that says Lord, Lord, you know, follows him. In Matthew, I think it's like Matthew 7, but it's just, I will say, like, this is by far, I mean, this is a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. But I will say it's the best God's Not Dead movie that's happened. Not saying a whole lot, but I mean, better made, and it's got a much healthier message. Because the story does look like it. I mean, it looks like, you know, from the start, oh no, here we go. The atheists are going to look really bad. And, you know, it's like everyone's going to look bad. But, or the atheists are just going to, you know, make the Christians, you know, look like they're all holy and being the victim. Whereas the atheists, you know, they're just being the big bully, the big bad guy, and they're not. they are, I mean, the people that do that, I mean, there's like a blogger, like an atheist blogger. You have the lawyer and like one or two like board members for Hadley, the college. Yeah, you have. I mean, those are the people that are the most antagonistic. Pierce is a little bit antagonistic because he and his brother are butting heads a lot, but he makes the best points, and by far Pierce is the best character in the movie, by far. Absolute favorite. He's just funny, and he's just great to know and stuff, and and that's, I think, the movie's best strength. They made a non-religious character, a secular character, an atheist, or I don't know if he's an atheist, but at least agnostic. They made him likable. They made him enjoyable to be with. And they didn't make him look bad for asking questions or for not following God. These were his legitimate complaints. And he did, address things. It's like this movie was apologizing for the other two God's Not Dead movies. It's like, hey, sorry that we made you atheists look terrible and monstrous. We shouldn't have done that. Pastor Dave, he's not the, the big, he's not the holy guy, that everyone thinks he is. And I don't think he had some moments, I think, in the first two movies where he just wasn't perfect, especially the first one. I mean, he was showing his impatience, but that's impatience. Here he actually pushed a student on the ground. He's getting all mad, he's the guy that's saying, oh, I'm tired of Christians just rolling on the floor, I want them to fight for their, fight for their rights, fight back. And there's a reverend that kind of puts him in his place of just being a light in the darkness, because if all he's doing is fighting, then all you're doing is making noise. And but yeah, Pierce brings a lot of questions up, as kind of addressing the other two movies. I mean, Christians are always playing the victim card. They've persecuted, like, Christians in history have persecuted other religions, other faiths, other races before, in the name of God. And then when they get pushed around, when the others fight back, the Christians are like, oh no, it's, victim, martyr, persecution. They addressed that, and I'm like, thank you. What? It was just crazy that they did that. So, yeah, and I think the ending, this movie falls into the trap that a lot of faith-based movies do, which is, hey, we're gonna tag a sermon into our movie, or it's a sermon disguised as a movie. But I think that this does slightly better than that. Just because it's needed, I'd say. It's much needed. So, with that, yeah, are there technical issues? Yes. Editing is a mess. All over the place. Do they have a lot of characters? Too many characters? Yes. Stick with just Pierce, the Reverend, and that's all you need. Have a couple of side characters, but don't give them as much attention as you tried to make them out to be. Oh my goodness, they didn't need that much attention. But, yeah, it was kind of crazy. But, I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. I mean, there were some good performances in there. Wish David A.R. White kind of did a little more than, just kind of. It looked like he was kind of a one-note dude. I wish he even did his little Jesus man. If you've watched any of David A.R. White's movies, that's his probably most famous one. But anyway, it's great. Movie choice or song choices, I think they just liked the piano a lot. Yeah. Oh, and fun, since this was shot in Arkansas, my home state, I mean, hey, UCA, my alma mater, that was there. Downtown Little Rock, you have the Two Rivers, the Big Dam Bridge, you have, you had one of my favorite steakhouses ever, Doe's Eating Place. It looks like garbage in there, but if you get their porterhouse, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yeah, there are a lot of fun little places to just kind of see, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been here. So it is kind of fun just to see, hey, a film shot in your home state, and they use a lot of landmarks that I've been to. So that was pretty cool, and I wanted to support, you know, Arkansas filmmakers, even though this film is not good. It's an improvement, and I'll give it that. So I'm gonna give this movie a wave. If anything, I mean, the movie is trying to build dialogue and conversation, you know, for both sides, non-religious, religious, to just listen to each other, you know. And I think, and at the end, I think the ending might be surprising for people that have been watching these movies, the God's Not Dead trilogy, of how the ending plays out. And the movie does strike a very important question. Do Christians need to win the culture war? That's something that the last two movies seem to think. But this has a different director, thank God. So it's a lot better. But yeah, I think I've been rambling on a lot, but man, so how do I say it? Movie is bad. I'm gonna give it a wave because the message is a lot better. It's so much less hateful, and it's an improvement upon the originals. So there you go. It's not gonna be the entertainment that God's Not Dead 2 was, where, man, that ACLU guy was cracking me up. And of just how maniacal he was. But anyway, I think this movie is interesting, and at least give it a rental, you know, give it that at least. But anyway, that's all I got. I'm Brian, and until next time, I will see you at the movies.